Guys, so it has been an eventful week 14 in the NFL season, to say the least. Critical matchups everywhere, lots of big games, divisional implications, playoff implications on the line. And with only one game left in the Chargers and Eagles, which is about to start in a few minutes as I'm making this video, I think it's time to assess some of the stuff we have witnessed. And the main point of this video, guys, is I wanted to give you 3 NFL teams that after this week's performance, I think proved to me that they should be in conversation to be a contender. So these 3 teams, I felt like before this week, I would have said, playoff team probably, but probably not a contender. But now I think all these teams are at least fringe contenders because of what I saw. So we're going to start with the team that I think made the biggest statement, in that now I think they are definitely contenders, legitimate contenders in the AFC and in the NFL. And that's going to start with actually my least favorite team, the Houston Texans. As a Jags fan, you know that this is coming from full objectivity. There's no subjectivity here, but what have the Texans not proven on defense? That is the best defensive unit in the NFL, top to bottom, pass rushing, just line play, defensive line play, elite secondary, some of the hardest hitting linebackers and group of defenders I have ever seen. That defense is aggressive, elite, and scary. They are the best defense in the NFL, in my opinion. And 3 straight weeks, we've seen what they've done to the Bills first on Thursday Night Football, and then the Colts with Daniel Jones, Jonathan Taylor last week in a key divisional game that the Colts really needed to win. And then the Chiefs last night with the great Patrick Mahomes. These are 3 prolific offenses that the Houston Texans have held under 20 points. And that doesn't even tell the full story. They're just so aggressive. They're all over you. There's no weakness. You can't pass against them. You can't run against them. They're going to get to the quarterback. They're going to make life miserable. And I'm just glad as a Jags fan that we don't have to play them anymore and that we've already played them twice, because it started with Davis Mills picking up that offense. Even if that offense is average, this defense is so good that when you're that elite of a defense, you're talking about, 2015 Broncos. Yes, possibly 85 Bears. I'm not saying they're the 85 Bears, but they're playing like an all-time potential defense. And when you're that great of a defense, I cannot deny that you're a Super Bowl contender. The Houston Texans, especially when you look at the AFC, right? You don't have the Chiefs in there right now. Probably going to miss the playoffs. The Ravens are in a little bit of trouble. They might win the division, but they're not looking the same. Obviously, the Bills are there, but we saw what they did to the Bills. Look at every team in the AFC, and don't tell me you couldn't imagine a world where the Texans just swarm them on defense and win a 19-16 game. I mean, even if you talk about probably the most polished, best offensive team in the AFC, which is the New England Patriots, who have just been so consistently good on offense, are you saying you couldn't see a world where in a, 2-7 wildcard matchup or a second-round matchup, you couldn't see the Texans go into Foxborough and just make life so miserable for Drake May? Couldn't see them scratch out a bunch of low-scoring wins because of how great their defense is? I could absolutely see that. This defense is just so fearful and scary right now, and I think they've shown it 3 straight weeks. And look at the other games earlier in the year. I know Lamar didn't play the game they smoked the Ravens early in the year. They only allowed 10 points to them. They only allowed 15 points to the 49ers. So take your quarterback and the offense that's coming in, and don't tell me the Texans won't give them trouble, because that's what they've done to everyone. So the Houston Texans, with that elite defense in an open AFC, I think they have now become contenders. And even if their offense is decent, which it has been the last few weeks, starting with Davis Mills and now it's to CJ Stroud, even if their offense is decent, the Houston Texans are contenders. And you know what? CJ Stroud is a really good quarterback. He's one of those guys who defies the stats. So if you watch them play, you see that CJ Stroud, a lot of times the lack of production is coming from bad line play on offense, but CJ Stroud himself, the instincts, the beautiful throws he's capable of making, CJ Stroud's a really good NFL quarterback. And if he's even decent, this offense is average to somehow slightly above average with the weapons. They have weapons for Nico Collins, Christian Kirk, Dalton Schultz, solid receiving core, and then you got Woody Marks as a good rookie running back. The Houston Texans, the way they're playing, could win the Super Bowl. That's how great they've played, especially, obviously, on defense. So then the Houston Texans are the first big statement now contender team that I wanted to talk about. And then I have 2 teams together that I think are kind of the AFC-NFC equivalent of each other, and that's the Chicago Bears and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Because these 2 teams, I was thinking about making this video, And it made me think these two teams are very similar to each other. The Bears are the Jags of the AFC and the Jags are the Bears of the NFC, because these are two 9-4 teams that are surprising, with a former number one pick at QB who has not lived up to what they have the potential to do so far. People were being critical of their number one pick QB, and they bring in a new, young, first-time offensive-minded coach that says, you know what, even though our quarterback might not be playing like a superstar right now, we can still get a well-oiled machine around them, as in both the Bears and Jags now running the ball very solidly, and just clean up the team around them and make the plays that count to win the game. I think the Bears showing that they could hang with the Packers, take it all the way down to the wire, come back from double digits in a frozen tundra of Lambeau Field. I think, and especially beating the Eagles last week, I think the Chicago Bears have proven, maybe not definite, but they're fringe contenders because they're just balanced all around. They have two really solid running backs out of nowhere. They can run the ball really well. Caleb doesn't need to be great, albeit he did make a bunch of great plays yesterday, but he doesn't need to be the best quarterback in the league for the Bears to be really solid. They run the ball well. Their defense it's not the 85 Bears, obviously, not even close, but they can be aggressive. They can make plays. They have a timely defense, I would say. So just the balance all around, and it shows with the good coaching. The Chicago Bears, I believe, are fringe contenders because the NFC is also open. It's been a crazy year. I'd say the two teams that have the best chance of beating them are the Seahawks and Rams. But who knows? I mean, especially if the Bears get home field advantage over either of those two teams, you want to come into Soldier Field in wintertime, who knows what could happen. So shout out to the Bears for what they've done this year. That turnaround, I'm going to give it to them. I'm going to say they're fringe contenders. They beat the Eagles in Philly, which is never easy, even though the Eagles are struggling. And then they go down to the wire with the Packers in a game they definitely could have won. And it looked like the old Bears would have not come back in that game, but these Bears did. So shout out to the Bears. I'm going to give them that credit. And kind of the same thing with the Jags, beating the Colts, my Jags, I'm hyped up about that. But honestly, that's kind of how the Jags roll. With Liam Cohen, they have a really solid run game with Travis Etienne and Bashal Tutin in there. Trevor Lawrence has been solid, just like Caleb, especially recently, making the plays that count, not winning any MVPs at the moment, but still making the plays that count, complementing the brand of football they're playing. And then you also have a very aggressive defense in the Jags, just like the Bears. They might give up some yards, but they'll force a lot of turnovers. Both these teams are near the top of the league in turnovers forced. They'll make life difficult, timely defenses, and they'll make plays that count in big moments, as both teams have clearly shown. And again, AFC's wide open. So I want to say those three teams, the Texans, the Bears, and the Jags, in my book, have entered the contender to fringe contender conversation after week 14. So there's a ton of incredible football on tap these next few weeks. I can't wait to talk about it with you guys. But guys, definitely make sure to comment your opinions. Are the Bears, Jags, Texans, any or all of them to you contenders now? Let me know who else might have emerged for you from week 14. Did someone surprise you? Is someone else in the contender discussion? Comment any and all of your opinions. Let me know, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.